Hey ladies, so I wanted to show you this book that has been so impactful for me. It is The Five Love Languages. It's a classic. You've probably heard of it before, but if you have never taken the little quiz that goes along with this, or if you've never considered what the five love languages are and how they relate to you and your significant other, then I want to do that with you today. Today is my 6-year anniversary with my husband Rob, and together we put together a little walkthrough video where I'm going to take you through the women's quiz and he's going to take your husband through the men's quiz. So it's our first time ever making a video together, which is interesting. And I just felt like it was a great day to do it because this book made a big difference for us. So we've been married for 6 years, like I said, but we've been together for 10. And in that period of time, 10 years, we've done a lot. We've moved many times. Right now, we're getting ready to welcome a baby into our world. And I have done this quiz multiple times. I've noticed that over the years, my love languages have changed. One may be greater than the other. So if you've already taken this quiz, I encourage you to take it again. So why should we take a quiz like this? Well, I love what it says here on page 16, but just to lead up to it, the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And what Gary says here is that your emotional love language and the language of your spouse may be as different as Chinese from English. So things that worked before, you're starting to realize as you're gone through a few years in marriage, they don't work as well anymore, or something seems different. You don't feel loved the way you used to. You try to show love to your spouse, but it's like he doesn't respond. Things like this can start happening. Why do these things happen? Well, I'm telling you, this book is as good as 5 months of therapy. Let me tell you, listen to this. Once you identify and learn to speak your spouse's primary love language, I believe that you will have discovered the key to a long-lasting, loving marriage. Love need not evaporate after the wedding, but in order to keep it alive, most of us will have to put forth the effort to learn a secondary love language. We cannot rely on our native tongue if our spouse does not understand it. If we want them to feel the love we are trying to communicate, we must express it in his or her primary love language. Wow. So I was amazed that, sure enough, when I took the quiz, the things that I identify as being love, as opposed to just everyday things that everyone should do, they actually surprised me. And then, sure enough, I was looking for those things from Rob. That I was expressing my love to him in these ways, and I was looking for it from him in these ways. So, for example, one of my top ones is acts of service. And for me, I would sometimes do these kind of elaborate things to help Rob, and then he would just kind of be like, thanks, And I'm like, I was looking for something more out of that, for him to recognize that as being me loving him. And likewise, if he would do something small for me, that day I was going to do the dishes, and I said I would, but then I got so tired and was like, would you please do the dishes? And he went ahead and did it. He was surprised at how much I appreciated that. And I actually interpret it as a sign of love that he's going to do things like that for me. So it's interesting how until he knew that one of my primary love languages was acts of service, he didn't know that it actually connected to my feelings of love or not being loved. As in, if he wasn't doing things for me, practical things, then it actually felt like an absence of love. Or if I had to always ask him for help with the same things over and over again, it actually would feel like painful to me, right? But then when we did this quiz and we read through the chapter on acts of service, he understood that my love language is acts of service, and now he's like, now that he has that knowledge is power, right? So he gets to choose whether he's going to show love toward me in this way by doing acts of service, and he does. So one of the biggest ways he showed acts of service recently was actually sitting down, doing something really uncomfortable for him, which was making a video for your husband on the quiz. Like, definitely not something he would do, but I asked him, and in service to me, he actually sat down and made that video, and that's like a big enough gift for me for my anniversary, you know? So, and it feels like love. So that's just a vignette. That's one little example of how understanding your love language and then communicating it to your partner is really valuable. And also understanding that your love language doesn't necessarily align with theirs is really valuable, because it creates frustration when you're trying to show someone love and they're just not receiving it in the way that you'd expect. Okay, what else did I learn? Man, there's so much I learned personally from this. One of the things that kind of stood out to me is that physical touch is one of the ones for both men and women. And the whole chapter on physical touch, it really tries to hammer in the fact that this is not about sex, only, although that is part of it. Physical touch is things like putting your hand on your partner's hand, holding hands, giving, like, if he's sitting down, just, if you're next to him, just putting your hand on his shoulder and maybe like giving him a miniature back rub and stuff like that. Why is physical touch such a big thing for guys? It's not because they're pigs. I read this really interesting article recently, which was about how from a time a man is a young boy, society tells him it's wrong to touch, to receive touch from people, from anyone but their mom or their dad, and even that sometimes, like, you can't like cuddle with your dad. Like, society tells them these things. And so unlike women, where it's very normal to embrace and to even hold hands sometimes and be close together, for men, those things are viewed as like gross in the American culture, at least. So it puts men in a strange position, right? Because physical touch is actually required for us to stay sane. There was a study done where apes were left without physical touch, and they began to go insane from not having physical touch interaction with another living creature. So this is probably why men are so attached to their dogs, for example. It's the one, like, the one thing that they can like hug and wrestle with and not feel uncomfortable because of the way society has boxed them in, basically. So if we are in a loving relationship with our husband, we need to realize that need for physical touch, like, society makes it so that now, okay, you can have physical touch from your mom, but only, and then it gets less and less and less over time, and then now you have to look for a partner, because that's the only way you're going to get physical touch at all. And then it becomes sexualized, They think that the way I get physical touch is through sex, and the only way that I should seek physical touch is through sex, So it really forces them into this frame of mind where that's all it is. So I know I've spent a lot of time on this, but it really helped me understand why physical touch might be a big one for men, and that they might confuse it for desiring sex, when really all they need is a hug, but they never learned how to ask for a hug because society has always told them it's wrong. You see what I'm saying? So if one of your husband's answers is physical touch, don't be discouraged. Don't think that that means that you need to buy new lingerie, Just realize that that physical touch is a human need, and also that, well, I guess not just for humans, but in the animal kingdom as well, right? But it's also something that we can give to our spouse without it having to be sex, right? And if your husband always interprets like a massage as leading into sex, then you can help him to work through that. You can help him understand, like, I know that one of your love languages is touch, and there's a kind of touch that doesn't lead to sex, and I want to give that to you so that you can have it more often, so you can have physical touch more often in your life. Do you see what I'm saying? So I spent a lot of time on that, but I think it bears a little bit of focus for us as women when it comes to our spouses. So thank you for watching this, and I hope you do take the quiz that is attached to this book that we walked you through. And if you are not a married person, then cool, because you'll see that there's a quiz on their website that will take you through. It's specialized for people who are single, and it's going to help you to see the world differently, not just your like your spouse in quotes and your future spouse, but the entire world, because everyone needs to feel loved. And one of our highest callings as Christians is to love one another, right? So we're learning how to do that better. Great book, highly recommended. If you want to buy it, I'll put a link below. And thanks for your time today. And I can't wait to see your responses on the videos that I post. So, all right, see you later. Bye.